Imagine standing at the peak of a high mountain, watching a stream of perfectly clear water rush over the edge. But as that water plummets down the rock face, it collects debris. By the time it pools at the valley floor, it turns into sludge. If you wanted to clean that river, standing at the bottom with a bucket and a tiny filter wouldn't do you any good. As long as garbage is pouring in from the peak, any effort down in the valley is entirely useless. We approach our own lives with that exact same flaw. We spend decades agonizing over visible symptoms, our physical health, our bank accounts, our daily moods, trying to scoop out the sludge at the very end of the line. All of those external markers are just downstream results. You cannot fix the physical reality you see in front of you without hiking up the mountain and addressing the actual source. Dr. Thurman Fleet understood this upstream problem completely. Decades ago, he developed what he called concept theory, a model mapping out human anatomy. Look at this blueprint. Its radical premise: the physical body is less than 1% of your structure. Above this tiny physical self sits a massive invisible architecture. First is the intellectual tier, the mind. Towering above that is the infinite spiritual tier. The conditions of your life are not decided in the bottom physical layer. True health, lasting wealth, and actual happiness are engineered entirely within that 99% invisible space. Let's start at the very top. The spiritual tier is an infinite ocean of raw energy. It holds a limitless supply of potential thoughts, waiting for you to pull from it. Now, people get deeply confused by the name of this tier. Some call it the soul, others call it universal consciousness or source energy. But think of a person asking for a glass of H2O instead of water. The label is irrelevant. What matters is its function. And the function of this core energy is absolute perfection. It has no flaws, no weak spots, and it requires zero fixing or healing. Think of it like a smartphone operating system fresh from a factory reset. Before any bloated apps are installed or bad data is downloaded, the code is perfectly clean and entirely free of viruses. Deep inside that invisible architecture, regardless of your current bank balance or physical health, you already possess a completely pure, limitless potential. In physics, energy always flows in a single direction, from high potential to low potential. Like water flowing down a high mountain, your internal energy starts at the spiritual peak and drops downward. This diagram shows what happens next. The middle tier, your intellectual mind, acts as a filter to catch that downward flow of pure energy. Your mind takes that raw, abstract energy and crystallizes it into very specific thoughts. The type of thoughts it generates is entirely determined by your personal level of awareness. Those newly crystallized thoughts then drop straight down into the final 1% tier. They materialize as your physical reality, your health data, your income, your tangible daily results. Our physical state is the final manifestation of that filtering process. When the results in the bottom 1% tier are lacking, whether that shows up as disease or poverty, the cause lies in the specific thoughts we selected at the intellectual level. Curious tone. This brings up a strange paradox. If that core spiritual energy inside us is completely perfect, why do we constantly feel dissatisfied? Even after landing the perfect dream job or buying the house, an empty feeling always creeps back in. Society teaches us that ambition is greedy and that dissatisfaction is a mental bug we need to cure. Dr. Fleet's notes reveal that dissatisfaction is actually a vital feature of your anatomy. It is the mechanism through which your core energy expresses and expands itself into the physical world. Look at the early telephones. They were heavy, wall-mounted boxes with rotary dials. If humanity had been content with that invention, progress would have stalled. Instead, pure dissatisfaction smashed it apart and forced the creation of the smartphone. Expanding energy works like a flashlight beam. By its very design, it only pushes forward and widens out. It is physically impossible for a beam of light to shrink backward. This recurring sense of dissatisfaction serves as a biological compass, signaling that your core energy is ready to occupy more space. You have a relentless, expanding energy pushing through your system. To channel it correctly without burning out, Dr. Fleet created a framework known as the 3 E's. The first E is explore. Before you take any physical action, you have to pause, look inward, and clearly identify your unique personal strengths. The second E is express. This is the bold, outward action. It means taking that internal strength you just discovered and bringing it into the external world without letting fear hold you back. And the third E is expand. This requires scaling that expression so massively that its value spills over and creates a tangible benefit for the rest of humanity. When you align the tiny 1% actions of your body with that invisible 99% process of exploration, expression, and expansion, you finally experience true human fulfillment. Every physical circumstance surrounding you today is just a downstream reflection. It is the visible result of the invisible choices you make upstream in your mind. Because the physical body only follows the mind's lead, the very next thought you choose to focus on initiates this entire 3-stage process. It sets the trajectory for the next expression of your life. So, what exact thought are you going to filter next?